Welcome to the Prophecies of Tomorrow channel. Today we'll explore a topic that has fascinated humanity for centuries: how animals, with their silent wisdom and deep mysteries, may be warning us about the future. In many spiritual traditions, animals have been seen as messengers, being able to perceive things that humans cannot. This ancestral knowledge is urgently resurfacing in current times, and what animals have to tell us may be more crucial than we ever imagined. The world is changing rapidly, and perhaps the signs are around us all the time, but we are not paying attention. According to several spiritual prophecies, animals have important roles to play in this process. They not only react to the environment, but also communicate something deeper, like a warning to humanity. What could be so powerful that animals sense and anticipate it? How are they, with their keen perceptions, warning us of events to come? Have you ever wondered what the behavior of animals around you could mean for your future? It's time for us to reflect deeply on this, and I invite you to pause and think. Have you noticed any unusual animal behavior around you recently? Let's now embark on this spiritual journey and discover together what living beings have to teach us. Animal intuition has always been one of nature's greatest mysteries. While humans, with all their intellect and technological advances, often cannot understand or explain the totality of what is happening around them, animals seem to have a direct connection with something far beyond our perception. This phenomenon is not only fascinating, but for many, it can be seen as a manifestation of the spiritual presence in the natural world. In ancient spiritual wisdom, it is believed that animals have a keen perception, capable of capturing changes in the environment that go unnoticed by us. This includes not only physical changes, such as climate changes, but also more subtle changes in the spiritual energies surrounding the planet. Many religious traditions claim that animals are bearers of ancient wisdom, receiving their divine guidance directly from God or angels. The Bible, for example, frequently talks about the relationship between humans and animals, including even their reactions in times of great spiritual turmoil. In Isaiah, it is said that wolves will dwell with the lambs, and the lion will eat straw like the ox. This does not just refer to peaceful coexistence, but to a time of spiritual renewal and restoration of divine order, where animals play a crucial role. Have you ever wondered why dogs often bark agitatedly before a storm? Or why do cats sometimes hide in seemingly random locations before events like storms or even earthquakes? For science, this may just be an instinctive reaction to sounds and vibrations. But what if these behaviors were also a form of spiritual warning? What if animals weren't just reacting physically, but also sensed changes on a spiritual level, alerting us that something bigger was happening? It is important to reflect on the idea that animals, due to their sensitivity, can capture energies that we, human beings, are unable to perceive. If we consider that the universe and everything in it are connected by a divine force, we can understand that animals are not just creatures that share the earth with us, but that they are part of a great spiritual plan. This spiritual connection goes beyond the simple need for survival. They are, in a way, our silent guides, warning us of what is to come. In many cultures around the world, animals are seen as mediators between the visible and invisible worlds. They are respected as bearers of spiritual messages, with the ability to connect humans with the divine. Ancient Egyptian civilizations, for example, saw cats as special, almost sacred beings, who had the power to ward off negative energies and protect the home. Dogs, in turn, are often associated with loyalty and spiritual protection, often seen as guardians who bring out the purity of the human soul. However, this spiritual connection between animals goes beyond their relationship with humans. They are also deeply affected by the spiritual events taking place on the planet. Animals, like all living beings, are influenced by the energetic changes that occur in the universe. Significant spiritual changes, such as a new era of peace or, in contrast, a period of tribulation, can be sensed by these sentient beings long before we do. This is because animals are not just living in a physical world. They also exist on a spiritual plane, which makes them more aware of the invisible forces that shape the future. If we look more closely at the behavior of the animals around us, we can begin to notice signs that have previously gone unnoticed. Could it be that dogs that howl for no apparent reason are feeling something that we cannot perceive? Could it be that birds that fly in a different formation, or horses that become restless, are sending us a divine message about impending changes? In times of crisis, when natural disasters are about to happen, animals seem to be more alert, more agitated, as if they were receiving a spiritual message that we still cannot fully understand. This phenomenon is observed in various parts of the world, especially in areas prone to natural disasters such as earthquakes and tsunamis. There are reports of animals moving away from areas where disasters later occur, as if they were being guided by an invisible force. Although science explains these behaviors as an instinctive reaction to physical cues, many believe this is also a manifestation of animals' spiritual intuition, something they have in greater quantities than we humans do. This intuition is often seen as a form of divine communication. And how does this connect with our role as spiritual beings? Are we so distracted by everyday concerns that we fail to pay attention to the divine messages that surround us? Animals, with their refined sensitivity, teach us to listen, observe, and above all, respect the messages that the divine sends us. They remind us that spiritual perception is not just for seers or prophets, but is also present in all forms of life. The real question is, are we prepared to hear and understand these signals? Are we willing to look beyond the physical and realize that animals are not just reacting to our stimuli, but are sending us signals of something bigger, something deeper? They have something to teach us about how we should prepare for the future, for the challenges that lie ahead. And perhaps the key to this preparation is paying attention to those around us, those who may have a direct connection to the divine. How do you interpret these animal behaviors? Have you ever had an experience where an animal's behavior made you feel like something was about to happen? Leave your opinion or any story you want to share in the comments. What do you think animals are trying to tell us about the future? Is it something we should listen to and pay attention to? Throughout human history, animals have played a significant role in prophecies and spiritual messages that have shaped our view of the future. Since ancient times, different cultures have attributed to animals not just a symbolic role, but a deep connection with the divine. They were not only seen as companions or sources of food, but also as messengers of God, capable of bringing warning and guidance in times of great need. In the Old Testament, there are several references to how animals can act as God's instruments. For example, in the story of Jonah, when the prophet fled his divine mission, it was a storm that returned him to the right path. Although the animals do not play a direct role in the narrative, the storm, a sign of creation, was an essential part of the story's outcome. The Apostle Paul himself also had visions of animals and spiritual figures that guided him on his mission, demonstrating that even non-human beings are intertwined with the divine plan. In many cultures, animals are seen as bearers of spiritual wisdom, with an unusual ability to sense changes in the environment and spiritual forces. The Egyptians, with their deep religiosity, worshipped various animals, such as the cat and the falcon, believing that these beings had a direct connection with the gods. Cats, in particular, were revered for their ability to see beyond the visible, as intermediaries between the world of the living and the world of spirits. Another fascinating example comes from the tradition of Native Americans, who viewed animals as spiritual guides and allies on their life journey. Each animal had a specific energy and teachings that could be applied to human behavior. The wolf, for example, was seen as the guardian of spiritual knowledge, while the eagle symbolized clear vision and perception beyond the horizon. Animals, in many cultures, were considered spiritual protectors and messengers of messages that helped people align with their destiny and divine plans. In ancient Greece, animals also played an important role in prophecies. The famous oracle at Delphi, for example, was known to receive divine messages not only through priests, but also through signs in nature, including animal behaviors. It was believed that the gods used animals as instruments to send messages, and priests were trained to interpret these signals. A notable example would be the presence of birds during sacrificial rituals, where the bird's flight or behavior was interpreted as a message from beyond. In Christian tradition, animals are also intertwined with prophecies and signs of the end times. Many scholars believe that, on a symbolic level, animals play a crucial role in restoring harmony to the world, especially in relation to Isaiah's prophecy. which speaks of a time of peace where predators would live in harmony with their prey. This concept reflects not only the restoration of the physical nature, but also the spiritual nature of the world, with animals as participants in this great rebirth. Today, many still believe that animals are warning us about future events, often in a more intuitive and spiritually sensitive way than humans. In times of crisis or great spiritual changes, such as natural disasters, wars, or even changes in cosmic energies, it is common to hear reports that animals begin to behave strangely, as if they were aware of what is about to happen. For example, before an earthquake, many animals begin to agitate or move away from the affected area, a behavior that many people believe to be a manifestation of a refined intuition connected to the spiritual plane. These signs are not just physical but spiritual. The belief is that animals, due to their purer nature and less influenced by human distractions, can perceive the signs of the cosmos in a way that we, humans, often cannot. At a time of great turmoil in the world, animals may be offering us a path to understanding, inviting us to look more closely at our own spiritual lives and our connections with the divine. An important question that we must consider is, are we attentive to these messages that animals offer us? Amid the daily chaos, we often don't pay due attention to the behavior of our four-legged friends or the subtleties of the natural world. However, if we can stop and observe, we can realize that animals have something profound to teach us about the future, something that transcends the simple need for survival or instinct. Many reports of prophecies involving animals come from times of great change, as for example in periods of war, where animal behaviors are often seen as premonitions of great turbulence. If animals are so in tune with the spiritual flows of the universe, perhaps it's time to reevaluate our own relationship with them. What do they tell us about the future, about our place in the cosmos, and about how we should prepare for what's to come? Reflecting on this, it is important to remember that we are all connected, humans, animals, and all of divine creation. Just like animals, we are all on a spiritual path, learning and evolving, sometimes silently, as the future unfolds before us. Are we prepared to hear these messages and connect more deeply with the divine plan that surrounds us? Or are we, as always, so distracted by our own worries that we let these signs go unnoticed? What do you think? Have you ever had an experience where an animal's behavior gave you the feeling that something important was about to happen? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Are we ready to hear what animals have to tell us about the future? On our spiritual journey, the connection with animals goes beyond a simple physical or emotional bond. Since ancient times, animals have been considered sacred beings, often seen as emissaries of divine energies or spiritual guides that lead us through life's adversities. This deep connection between humans and animals is not superficial, but rather rooted in a spiritual understanding that dates back to the dawn of civilization. The Bible, which has been a source of wisdom for millions of Christians, shows us that God created animals for a very specific purpose within the great divine plan. In the book of Genesis, it is said that God created animals to inhabit the earth alongside human beings, with the mission of helping them, guiding them, and, why not, even teaching them about unconditional love and fidelity. These principles, which are expressed in pure form in animals, often show us what it means to live in harmony with divine creation. A notable example of this spiritual connection is the relationship between humans and dogs. Considered man's best friends, dogs have been faithful and protective companions throughout human history. In the spiritual world, dogs are often associated with loyalty, protection, and the ability to hold humans on a higher frequency of love and light. They not only protect us physically, but they also play a crucial emotional role in our spiritual journey. When we face moments of sadness or loneliness, the simple act of having a dog by our side can be a reminder of divine love and God's presence in our lives. The behavior of dogs, and many other animals, can teach us profound lessons about spiritual surrender and trust in God. Often, animals do not have the same anxiety that humans have about the future. They live in the present, trusting in what is to come, without questioning what they cannot control. This is an essential lesson for us. Trust in divine providence, without fearing the unknown, and live with the certainty that we are supported at every step of our journey. On the other hand, cats have a more mystical and reserved energy. being symbols of introspection and spiritual sensitivity. In several spiritual traditions, cats are considered spiritual guardians who protect the home and its inhabitants from negative energies. Many cultures even believe that cats have a special connection with the world of spirits. Their behavior of staring at an empty spot or moving silently through houses is interpreted as a direct connection with the spiritual planes. Cats teach us the importance of inner silence, meditation, and perception, beyond the visible essential skills for anyone who wants to connect with divine messages that are beyond immediate human understanding. From a Christian perspective, the relationship with animals is seen as an extension of our relationship with God and nature. God has not left us alone on our journey. He has gifted us with beings who have the ability to teach us about patience, compassion, and even the deepest mysteries of life. In times of anguish or crisis, it is common for many to find comfort in the company of their animals, feeling that, in some way, they are acting as instruments of healing and spiritual peace. There are no coincidences when we come across the presence of an animal on our path. If we stop to observe, we can realize that they bring important lessons to our lives, especially when we are looking for answers or spiritual guidance. The spiritual connection between humans and animals is also reflected in the premonitions and signs they offer us. We are often caught off guard by unexpected behaviors from our pets. They act differently, become more agitated, or seem to demonstrate increased sensitivity to something that is about to happen. This can be interpreted as a manifestation of the spiritual perception they possess, allowing them to warn us about imminent events, whether on the physical or spiritual plane. A common story among people who live with pets is how animals seem to sense energetic changes, such as the arrival of a storm or a person about to enter their home. Dogs, for example, may become restless or start barking for no apparent reason. Cats, in turn, may hide or behave strangely. Many believe that these behaviors are not mere instincts, but rather a heightened perception of events that have not yet been perceived by human beings. But what does this tell us about our own spiritual connection to the universe? We can, like animals, be more sensitive to the cosmic and spiritual forces that surround us if we are willing to open our hearts and minds to a greater understanding of divine creation. It is possible that animals, with their purity and harmony with the divine plan, are, in fact, guides that help us find the correct path in our lives, always alert to the energies around us. The question we must ask ourselves is, are we paying attention to these messages? Are we listening to the lessons that animals have to offer us? When we look at our four-legged companions, we must remember that over the centuries, they have been and continue to be instruments of divine wisdom. They show us that true spiritual connection is not just in words, but in the simple and sincere actions of our everyday lives, and in the unconditional love they offer to all who are willing to receive it. And you, have you ever noticed any sign or behavior in your animals that gave you the feeling that something important was about to happen? Leave your comment below and share your experiences. We are curious to know how your animals have influenced your spiritual life. In the spiritual context, animals have been associated with prophecies and warning signs about the future. Since ancient times, cultures around the world have attributed to animals the ability to predict events that were often beyond the reach of human perception. However, this is not just a cultural or superstitious phenomenon. There is a deep symbolic connection between animals and what is to come in our world, something that often escapes our usual senses. When we observe the behavior of animals, we can find clues, small messages that, if interpreted with an open mind, lead us to a greater understanding of our own spiritual path. Spiritual animal prophecies are often mentioned in various religious and spiritual traditions. A clear example is in the stories of the Old Testament, where animals are often used as messengers from God, bringing important warnings and instructions. In Christianity, many believe that animals have a direct connection with the Creator, being used as instruments of His will to guide humanity, especially in times of crisis. In human history, there are also many reports of animals that predicted natural disasters, such as earthquakes, tsunamis, and hurricanes, long before humans noticed any sign of danger. Dogs and cats, for example, have demonstrated an impressive sensitivity to events involving changes in the natural environment. I believe that when these behaviors are observed closely, we can learn something much deeper, that the spiritual and physical worlds are intimately intertwined, and that animals are often the intermediaries between these two realms. Recently, there have been reports that dogs and cats have started acting peculiarly before large earthquakes. Behaviors such as extreme agitation, constant barking, or attempts to escape from the house even before the earthquake is detected by humans indicate that these animals may be in tune with energies and vibrations that are invisible to us. This sensitivity is not only physical, but also spiritual. They sense the changes in the Earth's energies and the messages that are sent across the cosmos, acting as silent guides that alert us to what is to come. There is also an interesting connection between animals and the cosmic cycles that govern the universe. In many esoteric traditions, animals are believed to be creatures that are more aligned with the universal flow of life, as they are not as distracted by the complexities of the human mind. In times of spiritual changes or great transformations, such as the times of tribulation mentioned in several prophecies, animals can be used to guide us, showing us the correct path and preparing us for the challenges that lie ahead. Going deeper, we must reflect on the behavior of birds, which are often seen as spiritual messengers. In several cultures, birds represent a link between heaven and earth, between the divine and the human. Many believe that birds, with their ability to fly between worlds, can bring important messages about the future. The flight of birds is seen as a sign of freedom and connection with the divine. When a bird approaches someone, it can be interpreted as a warning that something important is about to happen, whether it is something positive or a warning about upcoming challenges. Regarding premonitions, we can also observe the behaviors of animals before significant global events. Historical accounts, such as those of migratory birds that change their routes before natural disasters or other catastrophic events, show us how animals are capable of perceiving large-scale changes, something that often goes unnoticed by humans. These phenomena can be interpreted as signs that we are entering a new phase, a new cycle that demands our attention and spiritual preparation. These signs, which often seem small and insignificant, are actually reminders that there is something bigger happening around us. In moments of great instability in the world, animals have the power to bring us back to the simplicity and primitive wisdom that the Creator placed in all creation. When animals behave differently, it's as if they are telling us to stop and reflect, to notice what is happening beyond the visible, beyond the everyday. If you stop and pay attention to your own pet's cues, you may notice that they often act differently in times of uncertainty or fear. It may be that they, in some way, perceive the energy in the environment and react to it, offering us clues about what is to come. It is possible that your own animals are trying to communicate something to you, something that has not yet been revealed to everyone. When we look at animal signals and behaviors, we need to ask ourselves, are we listening to these messages with an open heart? Are we willing to receive the spiritual messages they have to give us? Often, the answers to our biggest challenges come from unexpected places, and perhaps animals, with their wisdom and connection to the spiritual world, are the guides we need to understand the prophecies that will shape our future. And you, have you ever had an experience with your pet that made you feel like something important was about to happen? Share with us in the comments. How do your animal signals influence your vision of the future? We have reached the end of our journey of discovery about how animals are warning us about the future. But before we close, it is important to reflect on one crucial thing. How can we apply this wisdom in our lives? What do animal signs have to teach us about our own spiritual and emotional preparation for what is to come? Now, more than ever, is the time to listen carefully to what nature and the animal world have to tell us. When animals act in peculiar ways, this can be a direct message to us, an invitation to reflect on our choices and our spiritual path. Our world is constantly changing, and we often find ourselves lost in the face of crises, whether on a personal, social, or even global level. However, the wisdom of animals and the spiritual signs they transmit to us are a form of preparation, a way of staying alert and in tune with what is happening around us. Perhaps the real challenge is learning to listen, observe, and perceive these messages, which are more present in our daily lives than we imagine. Have you ever noticed any peculiar behavior in your own animals? Ever get the feeling they knew something before it happened? It may be that they are trying to communicate with you, alerting us to changes that are coming. Sometimes these signs are subtle, but if you stop to listen with an open heart, you'll realize that animals have a lot to teach us about the future. They are not just living in the present. Its wisdom seems to transcend time, connecting us with something greater and divine. Now, I want to invite you to reflect on the connection between the spiritual world and the physical world. As we move into times of uncertainty, it is important to be aligned with the universe and open to the messages sent to us. Animals, with their natural connection to the spiritual world, are precious guides, prepared to help us on our journey. They remind us that harmony between living beings and the cosmos is vital to our evolution and understanding of what is to come. So I ask that before you finish this video, think about how you can be more aware of the signs around you. What does your pet have to teach you today? How can you strengthen this connection to the spiritual world he represents? Leave your experiences in the comments, or share if you've ever had an experience in which your animals seem to understand something that you couldn't understand. Let's create a space for exchange and reflection on these powerful spiritual messages. Now, if you liked this video and want to continue exploring themes that connect the spiritual with everyday life, don't forget to leave a like below. This helps the channel grow and bring you more content like this. And of course, if you haven't yet subscribed to the Prophecies of Tomorrow channel, take the opportunity to subscribe now and be part of this journey of wisdom and spirituality. Plus, we have more amazing content for you to watch. At the bottom of the screen, there are 2 recommended videos that will further deepen your knowledge about how animals, spiritual signs, and the universe are interconnected. Don't miss this opportunity to continue learning. Thank you for being with us this far. May the signs of animals continue to light your path, and may you always be open to hearing and understanding the messages sent to us from the spiritual world. Until the next video, may God bless you all.